Hello and welcome to Playing Favorites. I'm Paul.
I'm Justin.
Hello, Justin. How you doing?
I just want to say one thing, Paul. When you
Yes,
can't
Justin.
breathe, you can't scream. Just so you know, it's an important
Ooh, what a great tagline.
thing.
Seriously, when you can't breathe, you can't scream. Very nice. If you didn't know by the tagline or by the cover on this episode, we are talking about Anaconda, movie starring Jon Voight, Jennifer Lopez, Owen Wilson, Ice Cube, and that's about it, I think. Yep.
Yeah. Oh
And
no.
then several
Well,
other
no. One
jobber
guy,
actors.
Jonathan Hyde. He was from. We were like, who is that? Who is that?
Oh, yes, yes,
He was
you
the
recognized
the,
him.
the father from the Jumanji movie. Well,
Yes,
and the
Jonathan
Hunter.
Hyde. Oh, yes, he was the like British snooty guy.
Yep.
Yes, the documentary voiceover actor dude. Great. Yes, we are going to take a little deep dive into a movie that I had only seen very briefly and only on cable for maybe half an hour. And a movie that we has been like part of our like lexicon, part of our conversations. It just when are we going to talk about this movie? When are we going to
Which
watch
we've
it?
tried
It
many
was so
times.
great.
We keep
Yeah.
just never happening.
And finally now we watched it again. We paid to watch it too. Like I feel like that is worth saying because
We both paid. We had to pay separately.
yeah, we
We tried to
paid
share it,
separately.
but didn't work.
Yep.
I just think you need to tell the
Well,
story about your first experience of Anaconda. I really think that
and this
needs
will
to be
be
set the tone of
yes,
this.
and that would be the last time I ever tell this story. But before we get started, let me just remind people that this is the podcast where we talk about our favorite things across a variety of topics. And if you don't know who we are, you're just joining us now for the first time, please check out our back catalog. We've been focusing a lot of our efforts around kind of these movies from the past that left some kind of impression on us, and it's been a real wild experience going back through some of these. So
Yes,
I
very
will
true.
just make a shout out really quickly to The Shadow, Spawn. We've done such good things, and I'm very excited to talk about Anaconda now because yes, we are here. I can tell this story one last time about my first experience with Anaconda. But before we begin, I mean, could you tell me a little bit about the movie? You remember when it came out? Do you
Yeah,
have that up,
so
Justin?
it came out April 11th, 97.
Wow,
We were
97. Were
close
we
on
in
the
middle
third.
school?
We're close on that 30th anniversary. Obviously, this was during
Yes.
the. I mean, this is probably like during that age of like Congo, Jurassic Park. Obviously, was a big thing. So like
Hmm.
that monster horror type
Yes.
film was kind of like it had like a moment in time, I guess, around then. I don't
Hmm.
think it lasted very long because I think they
This
tried
is
to
like the
right.
not to pun too hard already, but this is the tail end of
Yeah.
the like
Well,
kind of
because
monster
I
and
think
like Lake Placid. I think
Godzilla came
would be.
out too around that time. The one with the newer
Oh,
one.
Matthew Broderick.
Yeah,
Yep,
so that
Matthew
was around
Broderick
that
and Hank
time.
Azaria.
So you had a lot of those sort of like monster flicks because
Sure,
CGI was a
sure.
thing and effects was a thing. So let's just make monsters.
Yeah, this was like a real big push to like how can we make movie monsters, and it's still a mix though. It's a mix of practical effects and CGI. But tell me how well did this movie do? I mean, honestly,
Um,
like did this flop in theaters? Was it
no.
successful?
So I mean, I guess what defines a flop? I mean, it didn't make a sequel for theater. They made sequels, but not and
Straight to video?
not it was straight to video sequels. But like it made 40. It was a 45 million budget, and it made 136.8 million. So like
Whoa,
I
yeah,
feel like
that's
it.
monetarily successful.
I mean, it's successful. I don't think it was like a gigantic hit because obviously you got to make a lot more than your budget to make it a successful thing. Because like the budget's weird. I
Mhm.
never quite understood how that works. Like the budget isn't all the money they're spending. It doesn't include
Sure,
like I think it doesn't include like the marketing and the
marketing and
advertising and
yep.
all that stuff. So that was just to make the film, but not all the other things around it.
Okay.
So I think it was successful enough. I mean, it started the careers of a couple of different actors, like Owen Wilson.
I don't think this. Okay, Bottle Rockets started Owen Wilson's career, but I will say that this was one of J Lo's like first films.
I think it was her first one. I think it
Maybe it
was.
was her first because it was a big deal. It was like, oh, she's going to be an actress now. She's a singer, and it was like she was making the transition from. No, no, no. This wasn't her first film. Her first film was Selena because she played
Oh, that's right.
what's her name? The Latin American singer. I forget her last name. Oh,
So Lena,
um,
she was in Blood and Wine. She was in the
okay.
movie Jack, I guess. It was on Money
Well,
Train and Nurses on the Line. I don't know.
but
That
her
was
portrayal of Selena was the one that was like, oh, she can do music and movies, and then this was like her first like maybe kind of attempt at a just like summer blockbuster spring
Mhm.
thing. I don't know,
Yeah, but it was
but
directed by Luis
yep,
Luisa. I don't even know who that is. That's just so
nope.
I've never heard of this person. I'm looking at their filmography and I don't know any of these movies besides Anaconda, to be quite
Sounds about right.
honest. Anyways, what's your
Well,
story? What was your first Anaconda experience, there, Paul?
well, I mean, it had come out already, and it was on cable TV. And when I was in middle school, high school, like early high school, most nights it would be like my mom and I. My dad worked nights, so it'd just be us. And my mom would usually like put something on and then fall asleep almost immediately. But sometimes she would get really upset and like very like, "Hey, I was watching that," like if you're and I'm like, "You're clearly sleeping through this." So, she had Anaconda on, and I sat down and watching, and it sucks. I didn't like it, especially at the time. It was probably during one of the many like monologues or weird
Oh,
dialogue exchanges.
the beginning is a slog. That's for sure.
Very slow, very slow. So I'm like trying to like I got the remote and I'm like I'm going to change the channel, and so before I could like she like like came to and my mom was like, well, don't change it. And she's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And then she fell asleep again. She wakes up again, and I'm frustrated because I really want to change it to something else. She wakes up, and Jon Voight, who is, he's the antagonist, the main villain of this film. He's like on the boat, and he's just like talking in his weird Creole accent. And she's like, "Who is that guy? What's he doing?" And I said, he's John Anaconda." And like with a straight face, I'm like, yeah, his name is John Anaconda. And I'm like, because he's like a snake. That's why they call him John Anaconda. You can't trust him. And she's like, nodding along, half asleep with me, like, yeah, yeah, makes sense, makes sense. And then nods off again. And then the next time she comes to, you see a giant CGI snake eating somebody, and she just turns and glares at me like, the hell are you talking about? And I just burst out laughing, like I'm just making up a movie. So from there on, Jon Voight in my household was known as
John Anaconda.
John Anaconda.
What's ironic about this is the actual character's name is Paul. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So I think
Couldn't
that's
remember.
full circle. He came right back and he proved you wrong.
Mhm. Oh, Paul Anaconda. John Paul Anaconda
His
the
name,
second.
so his name was Paul Cerrone. So, anyways, for anyone that hasn't watched Anaconda, I'll give a brief synopsis because it doesn't take that long to explain this
Please do.
movie. So we have
There's
up and coming Jennifer Lopez, a director of films that wants to make a big hit, doing this documentary on
oh yes, yes.
on like some ancient civilization, the Shuhura. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
some native civilization that's tucked deep in the Amazon rainforest, and they've got a crew to go down and film them. Yep, to try and get them on film.
So they have a crew, like they have like the cameraman, which is the
Ice
ice,
Cube.
not Ice Cool, Ice Cube.
Ice Cube, yes.
We have like the best boy grip, which is Owen Wilson. Um,
Yeah. There's the PA too. I don't remember her name, but she's like Owen Wilson's
Girlfriend, right?
SO
You
in
got the
this. Yeah,
narrator, which is
they're
Jonathan Hyde, and then you got like the producer, I guess. Like I think he's like the producer. Oh no, he's the archaeologist, right? He's the right.
he's the one who's actually saying like I could. Yeah, he's like Jennifer Lopez is like romantic um person too. It's like who she eventually like
Sure.
they get cozy. But yeah, he is the science guy, the one who's going to actually he's trying to find them. He knows about them, and he hires J Lo and her crew
Yeah,
to
that's right.
come
That's right.
to
Because he's
film
like the
this.
historian trying to find this, like
Yeah,
trying to find the legend of this Shahadi and whatever.
archaeologist. It's never clear what he does. He just
Yeah.
wears one of those safari shirts, and you
Long
just
story, he doesn't
assume
last long
that's what he does.
anyway. He's
Yes.
doesn't he doesn't die. It's just he doesn't last long. But anyways, so they hire some boat with some really sketchy looking captain, and then
Yep.
just on their way to
Mateo.
filming Mateo,
Mateo.
they run into Paul Theron, who's like just hanging out in branches of the boat. Like I don't
He's
even
like,
know why.
hey.
And
I think he
honestly,
just found a boat and
the
swam to it
the
and just
gist of
said
it
like, "Hey, I crashed."
the gist of it is that they just like trick this crew to like get a boat to go after these like they're in a sense poachers and somehow
Yeah.
trick the crew. I don't quite understand that whole aspect. So the whole gist of the movie is just poachers trick film crew to go
Yep.
after this gigantic snake, and their
Yes.
other partner got killed in the beginning of the movie. What's his name?
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's an actor. What's his name? Oh gosh, he's in all the
God.
Quentin Tarantino movies. Machete guy. Like,
Oh, oh, oh,
oh god, why?
oh, yes, he played Machete. Uh,
What was
just keep talking. I'll
Yeah.
remember his name in a
Um.
minute.
But anyways, like so, like they tricked
Danny Trejo.
Dan Show.
Danny
So yeah,
Trejo.
like they tricked them to take the boat. I don't understand why they need this crew to do it. Like I never got that part. It's like
That was that
his
was our first question as we
his part
watched together.
his partner his partner has a boat already,
They
right?
already have a boat.
Unless
What do
unless
they
he
need the film crew
did we
for?
miss that? Is it like is did they not have a boat? Maybe he was just a captain. Isn't that is maybe that's the part? Is they just needed someone to buy a boat for him? Maybe
I
that's
you know, I but I don't think it's Mateo's boat. I don't think the boat belongs to anybody else but
like
Mateo.
like
I'm like, did they need them for gas money? Like,
I don't.
what did they
That's the
need the
part. Yeah.
film
Do
crew
they
and the
just need?
archaeologists for?
Do they need
They had the boat.
distractions? Maybe they wanted people
So
for bait. Like I don't know.
that's I think what is the never stated motivation for hijacking this boat and doing this. It's like they already have the boat. What do you need a film crew for? They want to just capture the snake. It's not like they're trying to film it.
Yeah.
What the hell do you need these
It's not.
people for?
It's not even like they were
Just
going
go and
this.
get the snake.
Yeah, they weren't
We know
even
where it
going to
is.
this. They weren't even going to the same place. They had to like make them do a
No.
detour.
Oh
All
yeah,
this
they
stuff.
had to like yeah, all these convoluted ways like that Paul Saru and Mateo get them to divert their path. But they already had the boat. So yeah, I think maybe it was because they needed bait. Like that's the only honestly, because at the end, I don't think I'm giving anything away when I say Jon Voight threw monkey blood on J Lo and Ice Cube
Mm.
and said like live bait, like I need you to be the bait. It's like that's the only motivation I can think of why they needed this crew of people to come with them.
Yeah, if you know the answer
Um,
to this, if you
yeah,
have a legit, if you worked on this movie, please tell us the
please let
logic,
us know.
like
Let
why.
us know.
But you know what?
Send us an email. We'll keep your identity secret if you desire. Whatever you need, just come forward, please, and tell us the story behind Anaconda.
So like when I first saw this movie, I saw this movie in theaters. So like I when initially it came
Wow.
out. So like when I watched it, like I didn't notice any of this stuff. All I was just distracted by J Lo's like outfits,
Yeah.
and I
Yep.
forgot Owen
She's.
Wilson was in this movie. Like
Yep.
all I remember is Jon Voight, LL, not LL Cool J. Oh my god,
Ice Cube.
Ice Cube, and J Lo. That's only three characters I remember from this film. I don't remember anyone else. I don't remember Mateo. I don't remember Jekyll
Jonathan Hyde.
Hyde. I mean, I don't remember any of these people. I knew there were other people. I just had no memory of them. All I remember is the end of this movie, because the end of the movie is a freaking a wild, awesome ride. Like
It is.
it is worth going through this like very, very loose, very convoluted, like
Yep.
setup just to get to the
It's
good stuff.
all it's all in service of getting to that point. Sorry if you may hear some meowing. My cat is
Hey,
roaming the
as
house
an
now.
opinion.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Jerry. I mean, the movie's really the first half of the movie is just so long. The I know like that's basically the plot of it, and then you've got Jon Voight in the end trying to capture the snake, and J Lo and Ice Cube are basically your final survivors of this. Shush over there. Uh, so what kills me, it's not that this is like a thing of wasted potential. Is I'm surprised how good this movie is.
I know
Okay,
you
is that
came out of
weird to
this
say?
so happy. Like you're like
Yeah, I mean,
because
I really
we
expected garbage, like
well
hot
yeah
garbage the whole way.
I mean I was thinking I was just like, oh, we'll go into this movie like I was a middle schooler that liked the really cool fun CGI flick that was
Yep.
all into it, and I'm like, all right, well I'm gonna probably come out of this thinking that this wasn't as good as I thought it was because my memory as a
Yep.
kid is
A
wrong.
symptom of your
But
age,
like
remembering it
like
with
and then
rosy
halfway
eyes,
halfway
rosy
through the
yeah.
journey, I'm like, okay, yep, I was right. This is not going to be that good. Like I'm sure the snake things aren't going to really win me over. But then I'm like, oh wait a minute, I forgot about all these cool shots. Like there's some really cool moments. Like in
Yes,
in the
there's
way
some
they handle it.
effort here.
Yeah,
There's some effort, and I feel like we've gotten to the point where watching some of these older and maybe not so great movies, it's like you can tell when it's lazy and when there's some effort, and they really put some effort into some of this movie. It's like if you were to take this movie and like recut it, I think it would. I mean, it's right at like 90 minutes, right? It was like 91 minutes or something.
yeah.
Like just at you could make this a 75-minute like solid movie. You could cut a lot and still have like a decent B movie type of movie. But so I mean, in the end, like we'll talk about the CGI, we'll talk about some silly moments, but I got to ask you just straight up, who was your favorite character in this? Like, who did you love seeing on screen, or
I mean,
feel like had the best kind of moments?
I mean, can I say the snake? Like
Yeah, I put the cute snake.
the cute snake?
I every time you see that practical, like the actual like puppet head of
Oh
the snake,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
adorable. I
yeah.
want like a stuffed animal of just that, like a small version of the anaconda, because he's so like kind of goofy looking and
hmm
it's endearing. It's honestly endearing. Like I like that
It,
snake.
it it had like a really good like kind of life to it, I guess. Obviously it's a puppet,
Mm.
it's animatronic, but like it had like sort of like a good like I felt like it was alive, I guess, for the most part. I mean,
It didn't feel too much like a puppet. I mean,
yeah.
it's a puppet, but yeah, and they tried. They really tried to blend it with the CGI.
hmm
I know you're gonna say like the snake itself. Jon Voight is
John Voight,
obviously
he's the
the best character because he's just crazy. It's like they just didn't even give him a script. They're just like, just do what you like, John. Just
I was
whatever you
saying
think is
because
appropriate.
again, just to add to something we didn't say at the beginning, we've been trying to watch these movies together because before some of the older films we've reviewed, like we just kind of watched them on their own. But like we were talking through this one together, and like I just kept making a comment like his face must have hurt at the end of filming this movie because like he always had this weird like I don't know like weird evil looking face. Like I don't know why anyone
Yep.
trusted this dude for the first
Yes.
part. Like I mean, granted, good
I
job
mean,
like not judging a book by its cover, but like
his name could have been Villain McBad Guy. Like it was so obvious. Like, don't trust this random dude you picked up in the river. And who all of a sudden has all this knowledge and then basically takes over the boat within a day.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
What
yeah,
is he?
he manages to
He
he
was a
poisons the
Paraguan.
guy.
He was Paraguanian,
Oh,
supposedly.
Paraguayan?
John Voight.
Okay, yeah.
John Voight was a Paraguayan whose name is
Oh,
Paul. His name is Paul. Like his
all
name
from
doesn't even
Paraguay.
sound like a. Does that what they is that
I
the
mean, it's mostly like there.
Sarong?
I'm sure there's
Paul Paul
maybe Saru is the
Paul Sarong sounds like
last
a
name.
Paul Sarong sounds like a mafia boss. Like I'm sorry, like it just
Make a good point. Yeah, Big Paulie Cerrone. Yeah, I could hear somebody calling a mob
Oh,
boss that.
I like the sun that just came on your screen. By the way,
Oh,
we're watching our
we're talking
we're
about Jon Voight.
watching our YouTube video. But anyways, yeah, like
Yeah.
John Voight definitely you can't go wrong. All the other characters are kind of like I don't know. There's not really a lot of substance to them. Like even J Lo, like I don't even know her point in the movie except for I'm the female that's gonna win mentality, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
she's your final girl, right?
yeah,
And you made a good point of saying this was because this is done very much in the style of a horror movie.
mhm,
Like there's especially the end, like when you're fighting like Jason or Freddy or Chucky even, like there is that like did we get it? And then it comes back and then, like trying to attract it. They're trying to lure it and trying to trap it at the same time. There is, it's kind of like we were saying before, the tail end of like this big boom of like monster, but not necessarily like more like natural creatures, like Congo is apes, Anaconda is snakes,
Yeah.
Lake Placid, big crocodile.
Well, it's
I'm
like the old school,
why do
like,
I also feel like Mighty Joe Young, that Disney movie came out around this time too?
yeah, that's true.
You
I mean,
know, like
a lot of
and
animals.
Jumanji, right? Like a lot of like trying to influx that or
Well,
incorporate that
because
like CGI.
the effects at the time could do animals pretty well, right? Like, so you
Yeah.
were able to like bring those in. You didn't have to be as realistic with animals. You could skirt it a little bit because no one's seen an actual
Mhm.
lion in person, kind of a thing. Like, not as often anyway. Your memory is kind of
Yes.
skewed, especially no one's seen these anacondas before. Like, obviously. Yeah. So I mean, it's but I think the phrase that they call this kind of film is a creature feature. So that's sort of why that's the vibe. And they used to
Makes
do
sense.
that. You think about it, in the 50s, they did that a lot. You had like the monsters attacking the cities, and
Sure.
what
Sure.
like all
I
those
mean,
things.
I mean, this is a lot like, I mean, you could probably find a good deal of comparison with Creature from the Black Lagoon. Like I didn't really put it together then, but now that you say it, like there are some kind of plot points similar to this in that like there's the group that wants to study it, and then there's the
Hmm.
group that wants to capture him, and it's not that like the snake in this is like, oh, this is just Mother Nature. No, the snake feels like a villain too, but Jon Voight is worse than the snake. Like he's really the antagonist. They call it Anaconda because there's an anaconda, this giant, snake in this. But really it's Jon Voight who's the villain, who's
Well,
really
yeah.
the motivating
Well,
factor
they enter
behind
the
this.
snake's territory. I mean, he's just trying. The snake really isn't doing
Just a
anything
snake.
wrong. Yeah, it's
Snake
just
doesn't
trying.
have it's not like an evil snake struck by lightning or
But
something and demonic possessed or
But
anything.
according to them, though, right? Like, I think J Lo makes a quote where it's like, snakes don't eat people, right? So these
Hmm.
are different types of snakes. 'Cause snakes aren't
Yeah.
supposed to eat people, according to whatever
Well,
history book she read or science book she read. I don't know, but like, these are unique snakes, so they're kind of dangerous. So,
sure,
but
sure.
you entered their territory. I mean, I don't know.
I gotta
Anyways,
I gotta tell you, here, before we move on, we have to talk about Owen Wilson just for a moment because he doesn't really have much going on. He's part of the film crew. He's like this nice guy. Him and his girl are trying to sneak away to make whoopee here and there. But
whoopee.
in a
Do
matter
people
of
call it that
20
anymore?
minutes, back in '97, they did. In a matter of 20 minutes, Jon Voight manages to convince him to abandon his girlfriend,
Yep.
abandon the people he came with, and be a poacher with him. He basically like brainwashes him in 20 minutes, and then before you know it, Jon Voight and Owen Wilson are carrying guns and like running the ship now. And like Owen Wilson is the most weak-willed person that maybe ever existed
Yeah.
because all he needed was like, hey, instead of doing what you were doing, why don't you give up your entire life and help me, who you just met yesterday, poach a giant snake?
Because of course you're gonna get tons
And
of
he's like,
money. That's why. Money.
all right, man. Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds wild. Let's do it. Ugh, terrible Owen
Yeah,
Wilson.
there was such a weird shift. It's like he didn't seem to have like a role except for like getting caught having sex in the woods by a boar,
Yeah,
and and like and
he's
John
kind of
Boyd
a
saves
dick,
him. Well, he
to be
saved his
honest.
life. That's why he saved John Boyd saved his life from the boar.
Yep.
That's
You
why.
owed him a life debt. That's
Yep,
why.
that's
Yeah,
why.
like
That was the
very much
reason.
like Chewbacca. That's your Han and Chewie combination. Jon Voight and Owen Wilson.
Yep, there we go.
All right. What would you say was like there's a lot of these, but I mean, what was like a silly moment that like just was there anything that just it was so ridiculous? Like there's a few of them, but anything that just sticks out to you as being like there were a few moments where we just burst out laughing because
I can't. I'm trying to think of one off the bat. Off the bat, but like, oh man, I don't.
that snake is adorable. Really, the puppet of it, it's got like you look at it, it's if you were looking at that as a model, just like here's like a 3D rendering in in whatever acrylic and plastic. Here is this snake that we made. It's cool. It's cool looking. The scales look cool. And the fact that they really tried to mix the animatronics with the CGI, I got to give them credit. They were doing something that was not easy, nor was it like really done a lot at that point in '97.
I have a
They're
funny
still
moment.
kind of like figuring out.
I got a
Go.
funny moment. This is the thing that I was
Sure.
like, I don't think I laughed out loud, but in my head, I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's like that's when the snake killed its first victim, which was not a human. Like, well, aside from the beginning of the movie,
Oh, what was the?
it was a
What did
Black
it?
Panther puppet thing that was like being like squished,
Oh,
and like the face. There was a
oh, that
shot.
poor
There was
puppet.
like a shot of like the face of
Yes.
this puppet Black Panther, like the eyes are bulging out and stuff. Like, I mean, there's a funny moment later that I don't want. I'll save for a different answer because it's just too epic.
Mhm.
But like, but yeah, that whole beginning.
Oh yeah.
That's the one thing I'll say about this movie. Like, they try to like do the whole normal thing. It's like, let's keep the creature secret. We don't want to show it.
Mhm.
We want to keep it
Show it as
reserved.
little as we can.
I
Yep.
think they could have showed a little bit more of something, maybe in the beginning, just to make it more interesting, or just I don't know, like maybe have one other person that dies early on, but then it's like they don't see the body or they don't watch it happen. Like there was no
Well, that's the thing.
sense.
It eats the people. That's the thing. It doesn't leave behind. It's just like
Yeah.
the what's his name? Danny Trejo's character in the beginning. When they stumble upon, because Danny Trejo's sequence when he gets chased and eaten is all before the credits, like the cold open of the movie.
Yep.
And then when you get to when they finally get there and Mateo and Jon Voight are like looking around and like, oh, like our buddy definitely got eaten. Like there's nothing left.
Well,
There's like the signs of struggle, but no blood, no parts of
well,
Danny
there you
Trejo
go. Well,
left.
that must have been their boat. I have a feeling that's what it was then, because like that must have been their shared boat. It got attacked by
Okay.
Anaconda. They weren't around. They were on their other boat that broke. Mateo and what's his name? And I guess
So really that
they needed someone to buy a
they
boat.
have like they've got like 3 boats between these 3
I
guys.
know.
Why did they need this crew? And
um,
clearly they didn't need them for directions. I honestly think it's either that they needed them for bait or gas money. Like they needed someone to fund, like they didn't have enough money to get the gas. And then they lose the gas. Like
mhm.
halfway through the movie, they lose like
all
all but
all
one
the
barrel
barrels because of
of
the
yeah,
explosion. Yeah.
yep.
So yeah, I can't. It's hard. Like there wasn't really any like standout funny moments. We were just laughing at John Voight the whole time because honestly, like the one thing that I was thinking
Well,
about when he's gutting the fish and he just keeps like eating the fish, and I feel like as
oh
he's
yes,
gutting it,
yes,
he's like eating, he's like licking the knife and like
yeah.
eating things.
Like
Like
ugh,
I don't know if he's cooking at the time or if he's gutting. I mean, yeah, I guess it's like sushi, but like
sashimi.
it's like like I really feel like John Voight just was having way too much fun to the point where it was hurting himself. Like he just like I'm just gonna have this weird expression. I brought that up, but anyways, I'm done talking about people. I'm done talking about people. Let's talk about why we watch this movie. We don't. Who cares about
We're
any of
done
these
talking
people?
about the people in the movie. Now we're talking about snakes.
Snakes. This is like the
Yeah. I mean, the end sequence is good because you get to see a lot of the snake, and it is like it's pretty like I will say this. What I like about the movie is like if you get bit and like grabbed by the snake, it does not necessarily mean instant death. I
mhm.
feel like in other movies, if the killer thing, whatever it was, got you, that's it. But there are plenty of times people get bit all the time in this movie and then like thrown around and grabbed by the snake. But until he actually swallows you, it doesn't matter. And even then, there's still a chance to live. Would you like to describe probably our favorite moment of this
Oh,
movie?
I
One
mean,
of the best scenes, best shots?
yeah, like I mean, I wasn't sure how soon we get to that because I feel like it's the best part of the movie. Like, but yeah, like that whole thing where John Voight is being like, that is that whole cinematic, that whole like, because like leading up to that, you had some really cool snake moments. I had to say, but nothing can top that last one. It's like I had forgot there was another snake going into the movie. I'm like, is that yeah? There's another part. What? I know there's another snake, but I forgot how long the other snake is involved. I
Yeah.
forgot about that, which is such a good twist because you think they're just fighting the one snake the entire time, and they beat it, right? They destroy it,
Mhm.
but no, there's another one, and like the fight,
And they said something about them being like, these are the soldier snakes or something
yeah,
that defend this area or something.
I guess
So
who
I
knows?
didn't know if we were gonna get like lots of big snakes, and then the biggest snake, like the mother snake or something,
No, just
but
another
instead
one.
just 2,
Yeah,
just
just
2.
two.
It's just
And
like this is their habitat. This is where you'll encounter those
mhm,
giant snakes.
yeah, and
Okay.
they, one was yellow striped, and the other one was orange striped. I mean, that's really the
Yep,
only
orangish
difference.
red.
I feel like the second one just seemed to be invincible. So it's like it
More
is a little bit
menacing, yeah.
definitely more determined. Uh, but like what is neat because it's
Yep.
like you get this snake out of the woods though. It's like out of its element a little bit. It's in this facility or like this building or I don't know where
Yeah, but that was also its lair.
they were.
One of my favorite parts is when Jon Voight, because he ties up J Lo and Ice Cube, and then he throws a bucket of monkey blood,
Hmm.
which is honestly a really funny. I mean, it's a good scene
Yeah,
because it happens so slow. He's like, "Oh, don't make too much noise,"
it's
and
okay.
then he,
It's like, ooh, look at that molasses. That's what I
yeah, no, like red Karo syrup there, the corn
yeah.
syrup.
But yeah, like how it's happened. It's like how the snake just. I forget how the J Lo and Ice Cube get out of that whole thing. Like I forget how
So
they
okay,
escape.
I do remember this.
Okay,
So only because I watched a clip of it recently.
okay.
It's
I
because
was gonna try to do that,
they're
but I couldn't
tied
get a
up.
chance.
They're tied up to a chair. This is like your big, end sequence, right? Big fight, big end fight. J Lo and Ice Cube are tied to 2 chairs together, and the idea is that John Voight and he throws monkey blood on them as live bait to lure the snake,
Hmm.
and he has underneath them a cargo net that's gonna like
Oh,
it's a
that's right. They
trap.
get
He's just
caught
gonna
together.
trap.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. So the snake does come, starts like getting really close, and that's when John Voight like pulls the rope down. Snake and J Lo and Ice Cube
Yeah, they're
go
on
up,
the net. That's right.
but he like ties it to some metal like pipe system, and immediately that starts to buckle and move,
That's right.
and it eventually gives way, and that's how it gets out. And Ice Cube does this amazing thing, like from the ground, he like kicks the metal thing and it like sends up a cargo net wall that John Voight runs into
That's
and
right.
then bounces back into the snake. And that's when we get the snake versus John Voight. He starts climbing up a ladder, it
Yep.
wraps
That
around
was such
him.
a cool visual. I have to say, like,
Yeah,
because they
and
don't.
it looked good. Like, and it bit him, and he looks like he's
Yeah.
really there, and a snake is really there.
There's a
I
really cool
mean,
shot
it's a
of
little
like
cartoony, but
they show the whole room from like a distance, and you see John Voight with the snake
mm,
like filling the space. And
yep,
honestly,
whipping him around, and
you didn't have to do that shot. That's where I think they did push it a little bit farther than they needed to. Like they could have done all like close up shots of these things and just have like you know they just had like a section of the snake all the time that's always in the shot. Like they don't need to show the
yeah,
whole snake. But no, they're like
see,
showing everything. Like it's really
yep,
really cool how they handled it. And like when John White first gets because like these snakes too, that's what adds to like the kind of the suspense a little bit. They're not venomous snake that I know of, right? They don't have
no,
venom,
no,
right?
they're not,
So that
they're
it's
not
all about
venomous.
just capture and eat. And
Hmm.
like his the
Squeeze and then eat.
so
Yep.
when he's getting squeezed though, his neck is like bulging.
Oh,
It's like
it does. You see
and like
a
that's a
weird,
cool effect though because it looked real. Like I don't know how they did it. Like I mean I'm sure it's what you learn it.
yeah,
It's like
like
okay,
prosthetics or
but
something.
it
And
looked
like,
like it didn't look like fake. It looked realistic. It looked like it was John Voight's neck. I mean, and then
yeah,
the best shot ever. I honestly forgot the shot. Like it's just so freaking amazing. Like it's cheesy a little bit, but not really at the same time. It is like that camera shot from inside the snake mouth, like, but like
best.
not
Yep,
just the teeth,
best
like
shot of the movie.
way up the tube, right?
Yeah,
And
you're
it's just
looking at maybe like 6 feet of the snake. It's like the camera is inside the
mhm.
snake pointing out, and you see the mouth open, and
Oh,
you're
it's
you're
so
looking
cool.
from the perspective of the from the inside of the snake about to swallow John Voight. It is great. It is like I just said, it is the best shot in the film because they could have overused that. They could have, but they saved it for the end. And it looks realistic. It looks like what the inside of a snake
Yeah, because there's nothing
would
to it.
look. It's fleshy and, you know, they clearly looked at what the anatomy of a snake is. They clearly try to, at least make it as realistic as possible. As I
Yeah,
say
because
that, it's
there
just
there
so
was a point
ridiculous. But
earlier with that kind of like like getting this eaten because Owen Wilson gets eaten, right? So like
Mhm.
he's like that kind of that effect showing Owens Wilson's body, like it was kind of cheesy, not realistic because like
Yeah,
you see his
eh,
face like
that
through
was
the
weird.
skin. You know, like that it was funny. That was a funny
Yeah,
scene. It adds to like the cheesiness of a horror movie, right? You know, because
yeah,
like you kind of have to do things like that to kind of emphasize it. Otherwise, if it's just a bulge of something, it doesn't showcase
yeah.
anything. You got to show the body to make it a little
Do
bit
you
more.
think? Do you think we could go to Owen Wilson's Wikipedia page right now and change his profile picture
There's just
to
that.
that of the of his like inside of a snake face? But
um,
no, they really pulled out all the stops for Jon Voight here at the end, how he died or how he gets swallowed, and then he does indeed go down the gullet, and
yeah,
you're
they show
like,
that. They
wow,
really,
all
I
right,
mean,
that's it.
they show the legs going into his
Mhm.
body,
Whole thing.
and then you think he's gone, right? So, but then J Lo's
Yep.
trying to like get out, and they're running around trying to get out of this thing, and then they spit John Voight out because he can't eat two, so he's
Yeah.
saving him for later because they make that comment early in the movie is they the snake that was the quote right in the beginning is like they made a comment about how snakes will regurgitate their prey and save for
Mm.
later. So that was a reference to like the earlier
Oh,
in the movie. So like he
wow.
just like ate him just to kill him and then save
Yeah,
he'll
just to
eat him later.
disable him.
Let me get this
Mhm.
other food now and save that one. You know, like because
Yep.
he's like I
He would
got
have
all
done it
this.
with all of them and then,
Yep.
like, sat and enjoyed Ice Cube Blast or something, you know? But, yeah, so we get to see the snake, like, throw up Jon Voight, and he comes out kneeling, and J-Lo's right there, and she's like, "Oh my god," and he looks up at her, and he's, like,
He's
all puffy and
kind
weird
of
and, like, looks
digested
at
a
him.
little bit,
Yeah,
right?
he's, like, getting and he just manages to wink at her once, and that's it, and falls over, and she runs away. I'd say one of the best deaths I've ever seen on film, like getting regurgitated, eaten by the snake, regurgitated by the snake, winking
Still
before
alive.
you die. Yeah.
So like makes me
Oh,
wonder like is the inside of an anaconda like acidic? Does it kill you or is he already dead and he's just going to like
it's gonna take forever for him to actually he'll suffocate first. Like I think that's
yeah.
what'll actually kill him.
So like
Because the whole point is like
being
they squeeze,
is it
suffocate, and then swallow.
is it like kind of like being like in the sarlacc pit? Like is it like years and years of digestion? Like I mean like how does it
Well,
break you down? Like usually snakes eat small animals. Like I can't like
oh, no, no. I mean, I've seen the boa constrictors that'll eat like calves or like sheep or like a huge thing, but it'll just take them weeks, like or days. They'll be absolutely immobilized,
yeah, cuz I
just
know
digesting.
we had a snake guy come to
It does happen though.
my daughter's birthday party because she wanted a snake party, so he brought snakes.
Okay,
And
I'm sorry. Before you talk about your daughter's birthday party with
sure,
snakes, I just gotta say, I remember a story not terribly long ago, probably within the last decade, where a guy who had fallen asleep was like partially swallowed by, I think, a boa constrictor.
oh,
And like he had fallen asleep on the beach or something, and I think they got him out, but he like had basically been swallowed. And the snake will swallow something like that big, but then it'll be like in its most vulnerable state for like a week because it's just waiting
oh,
for
it's
the
like giving me the
digestive
creeps a
juices
little
to
bit.
base it to break it down. All right, let's talk about your daughter's birthday party.
Well, no, he was just saying like even when you because my daughter has been on a case about having a pet snake, and I honestly don't want a pet snake in my house, but she really like is definitely like hardcore wants a snake, Kyrie, and like the snake guy was telling us it's like it actually is a very like easy pet to have because you only feed it like once every few weeks. So like
Wow.
the second you feed it, like whatever you feed it, it doesn't need food very often. So
Yeah.
I guess that would
Digest slowly, doesn't expend a lot of energy. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I guess that would work. He's
I
saving his meals for later. I guess they don't care if it goes bad or not. But anyways, yeah, that whole.
don't know. John Voight's already pretty bad. I don't think he needs to get any better.
but
Look. Yeah, let's
but
I've gotta
go ahead.
go ahead. No,
Well,
no, no, you
I
go
wanted
for
to
it.
shout out one other sneak attack since that's what the big thing about this movie was. So, what was your thing?
No, I just wanted to ask you if we could grade the CGI and the effects in this movie. Like how where
Are we
would we
grading it based on
put
modern
this?
CGI or just in general?
No, no. Well, to be honest, watching this, it does not look terribly dated. It's dated. Let's not beat
Yeah,
around the bush. It's dated. But
but
for 1997,
I would give it an A
um,
minus easily. I would say A
seriously,
minus. Like I wouldn't say
especially
it's
compared with like Spawn,
well,
that
yeah,
just
which same
like,
year.
oh my god,
I,
yeah,
I think it was the same
Anaconda.
year.
Anaconda had the better idea, mixing the practical effects with the CGI,
Hmm.
trying to, when you see the snake, you're actually seeing a real thing. Like when you see the face and the mouth, you're seeing a real thing. And when he goes to swallow, Jon Voight, like it's a real puppet, an animatronic thing. It's mouth opening and like the saliva and the
Yeah,
sound.
no, the blend was great. Like
It's
they,
for anybody who has any kind of like reptile fears or snake fears, like myself. It's genuinely chilling to see like, oh god, it's happening.
and
Like it's actually.
that's probably why you got such a slow half of the movie because they did
Mm,
put a lot of effort into that climax, right? I mean, the buildup is
yep.
great. Like once everything starts going haywire, right? All like when the snake effects just get better and better, and they're never bad really, except for I think the only thing I would critique is the Owen Wilson in the stomach thing. That's the only cheesy
Yep.
one,
I
right?
would I would have said like B plus. We're in the same area though. You say A minus, B plus. Yeah, like it's above average, I would say, for
Yeah, like
sure.
I
It is
guess I
above the average. It's
could to
different. It's unique.
yeah, like I guess I wouldn't change anything they did except for maybe the Owen Wilson thing. That's it. Like that's everything else I think was great. Like and then even like when the snake's on fire, like that's not CGI, but like cuz you got to
It's a
think
real
there's way
thing
more.
that's on fire.
It's
Yeah.
it's it is all really well done. It's terrifying honestly when it's on fire. It's like really scary actually like
Yeah. Yes. A flaming anaconda. But tell me, I mean, if they're both 97 comparing effects, just thinking about the terrible CGI hell in Spawn, and they show their work in this. They show, like you were saying before, they could have just as easily done a lot of close shots, minimized it, not shown the snake as much, but they showed it. They're like, we're going to show everything. You're going to see how big this snake is. You're going to see its tail move. There is that one of those big wide shots you were talking about. In a second, it's like he's going for Jon Voight, but then as J Lo and Ice Cube are leaving, you see his tail whip and like trip them, like to
yep,
try and capture them, and then
yep.
like go around one of them. Like it's the snake. There's no like hiding it. They don't. They refuse to like hide it. By the time you get to that point, show it all.
No,
And I got to give them
they
credit.
edited it and filmed it and choreographed it or cinematographed it like in a way that they knew the snake was always in that shot. Like it's
Yeah,
there is a
yeah.
presence of that snake. It wasn't like okay, well J Lo and Ice Cube are running away, but the snake's not here anymore. They didn't. They remember that the snake is in that scene. In any scene, the snake's involved. They have a sense of like, okay, the snake's always involved. It's always there. We have to be mindful of where the snake could be and how it could get out. Like
Mhm.
but the earlier snake, the one shot I love is that's so cool and is the Jonathan Hyde's character when he dies because he's in the waterfall and like
Oh
he
yes, he
comes through the
jumps
water.
right.
The snake jumps at him and it's like he catches him in like that's cheesy, sure, and it's probably not realistic at all. But like he
But
wraps him
kind of
up in the
cool.
sky and then lands like yeah,
Yeah,
it is it
that's how
is
strong you get to see, like, how strong the snake is. Like, Jonathan Hyde jumps from the waterfall, and then the snake grabs him with its mouth and then is simultaneously twisting him and then pulls him
that was cool.
back.
And again, that
It
yeah,
was.
you could see it's a little dated, but like they when they made it, they do it far enough away where you don't see the imperfections of the CGI of the time,
Sure.
but it makes it still look really cool because you're getting like this kind of neat shot of the snake doing this cool thing, and it's like it is so well done for that. I guess they just knew their limitations and got the best out
And
of them. I guess.
doing the wider shots like that probably does work to their advantage because, yeah, if you're seeing a bigger scene, you're not just focused on the snake and those imperfections. If you do big close-ups on, like, the long body and the snake is always moving. The only thing that really ever stays stationary, which is true to, like, snakes' behavior, is, like, the head will stay still, like it's sizing up the prey, but, like, the body is, like, coiling and moving. like if you've ever seen like a rattlesnake or something like coiled up, or like it starts to move like it's going to strike, like the head stays like focused and as still as possible while the body moves. So they made a smart decision saying like, well, we'll build the head and like upper body, actually build it so that we can control it, and then the CGI will be like the more like
Yeah,
fluid.
no, I'm surprised. I'm
Okay.
surprised it didn't get a. I mean, it got sequels, obviously, we said, but I'm surprised. I mean, it was going up against some tough things during that time. I mean,
And
97,
you
90.
know, like it's not like this movie is Citizen Kane, you know, it's like
No, I just.
it's
But you get so
blocky,
many.
it's
You get so
horror,
many
but
sequels for things you think shouldn't get a sequel. I'm just surprised that this one maybe didn't. But I mean, maybe it just. How do you make a sequel for this type of movie? Like that's the thing. The one thing about this movie that we were like kind of laughing is the ending is horrible. Like just like the end
oh,
shot, it's just like random producer dude just wakes up
yep,
and
everything's fine. They kiss.
because
Her him and
doesn't he
J-Lo
help
kiss.
them at the end or something? He comes up and
Oh, he does. He's finally come to in the end. Yeah, he's the one that finally like helps them because they think they
oh he
this
shoots
the
he
actual Anaconda goes up into like a smokestack and
oh
they
yeah,
like
that's
make
where it
it
gets on fire.
explode.
Yep, because it gets on fire. No, it's right.
Yep.
He shoots
Oh, that's
John
right.
Voight. That's what that guy. He shoots John Voight,
Yes,
but then John
yes,
Voight
yes.
escapes and then comes back and
Mhm.
but but yeah,
But yeah, that's the first time they get rid of John Voight. Yep.
they find the civilization they were
Oh,
looking for, and then it just cuts
worse.
to
Yeah,
sunset. That's the end.
and that's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like, oh look, we found them, and they're just staring at the from the shore. These like native people, I suppose, and they're like, yay! And then the end.
Yep.
It's like you
Nope.
just lost so many people. Like, why aren't you? Yeah.
They
Anyways,
could have like done like a
doesn't
whole like
matter.
teaser of
Doesn't
another
matter.
snake or something in the jungle or something. Just to
Or like a bunch of snakes like moving in the
yeah,
water like towards them. That would be a cool ending.
or a zombie snake. You know, yeah, it could have been a million things.
Shut. Don't worry, that's like Anaconda 5. Look,
So
I
yeah,
gotta, I gotta ask, in the final summation of this, I feel like this question is going to be what we're going to use when we talk about movies like this from now on. Justin, which side do you vote for? Is this a good bad movie or is this a bad movie?
oh, it's a good. It's a. I would just say it's. Can I just say it's a good movie?
No, it's a bad movie, but we can
Bad.
call it
Well,
a good
It's a
bad
good bad
movie.
movie. It's a good bad movie.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. It's worth a midnight showing. You know, it's worth
Yeah.
watching with friends to
But like
enjoy.
it's not to the
Definitely
point
recommend.
where it's so bad that makes it good. It's just it's a bad movie that's good, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like it's
it
not
is
like
good bad.
you watch it it's not like you watch it
Okay.
because of how horrible of a movie it is. It's not
True.
a great,
We don't look, yeah,
you know what I
especially that
mean?
first half.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like you kind of have to sit through some stuff to get some really good parts. Like the snakes and stuff make it great, which makes it a good movie because the first half is bad. So it's like literally, it's the first half is bad, second half is great.
Okay. So I want you to put I've got 2 columns down here. I was gonna do this earlier, but I'm gonna do this. What are the pros and cons of this movie? I'll just say a name and you tell me pro or con.
Oh, this is new. Okay,
Jon Voight,
bro, easy.
J-Lo,
Can I be neutral? I don't think she's. I would say
put
con.
her
I
in the middle.
guess. Yeah, put in the middle.
Okay. Owen Wilson.
Pro, because it's just
Yeah,
funny.
it's terrible. Jonathan Hyde.
Pro.
Yep, he plays his part well, and he's got a cool death. Uh, the what's it? The snake itself.
Oh, there's like the best part. Which both
Yeah,
snakes, just in general, both snakes. Is that looped in or just?
yeah, snake and its effects.
Yeah, pro,
Definitely
easily
a
pro
pro.
for sure.
Plot.
Oh God.
Yeah, the plot is the worst thing about this movie. The actual story is the worst thing about this movie.
I mean, there is none. It's just, I mean, come on, it's a
It's a
creature feature.
convoluted way
It's a
just to
creature
get
feature
them
to
there.
get them there. I mean,
Yeah,
come on, we had a movie that came out 10 years later called Snakes on a Plane. So it's like
that's true.
this
Quality
actually,
has
at least they're in
dipped.
the right environment for a snake, not on a plane.
Sure,
I'll give it that.
sure.
You know, it's like, could they have maybe tweaked the story? They didn't have to change much to make the story make sense. It really didn't have to change much. You know what I mean? It could have been just that whole crew
No,
was on another boat and their boat broke down as directors and they have to join his
you
boat.
know,
You know, like that would
yeah,
have made more
that might
sense.
have been, and they could have. It could have been either way. It could have been Mateo and Jon Voight trying to get to the Anaconda, their boat breaking down, and then they kind of like wave them off, and then
Yeah,
get to join the director's boat, and then slowly
yeah, and then you
infiltrate
have a
and take it
different
over.
captain that gets killed. That's a good guy, like a good captain,
Yeah,
and
like just the captain.
he
Yep,
dies, and then Mateo has to take over, which then sets him on this track to
sure.
go. Easily could have been solved. Easily.
Easily fixable. Yep.
So,
But yeah,
anyway.
this I would agree with you all the way with every one of those things. I think it is a good bad movie. It's
Mhm.
worth watching at least once. You can really just enjoy a beer or a nice scotch through the first half. Just try to get through it and get the payoff of the snake battles in the end, which is worth the time. And I mean, really, the as soon as Jon Voight enters the movie gets better.
Yeah, it's not
Like,
bad. It just takes
just
forever.
watch him.
It's just funny. It's just funny with him in
Everything
it
he
for
does
sure.
is
Yeah,
sneaky and suspicious, and
yeah.
like these people are the most dense people ever to trust him for a
He
sec.
really just like
But
every other Paul I know.
yeah. Oh,
Anyways,
ow, my pride. Well, Justin, this has been fun. We can finally say we have watched and we've reviewed Anaconda wholeheartedly, and the best part of it all is like we actually enjoyed it.
yep.
So
That,
I feel like we can finally put Anaconda to rest. But not for you, listeners and viewers. If you haven't, I think we could both say we recommend this movie, at least to see it once. Consider it of its time, but worth
mhm.
for those cool shots and those cool scenes. It's worth it.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you think of Anaconda in the comments, and hopefully you will come back and watch our future
Yeah,
reviews of other movies.
we've
We might come
got
back
others
to this.
coming in the
We might
down
come
the
back to
pipe.
this series in the future. Who knows? Because there are many
Maybe.
Anaconda movies that neither of us have watched, and I am curious.
All right. Well, this has been for now playing favorites. I'm Paul.
I'm Justin.
Have a good one. 19. Was this a summer movie? July? Like a June, July movie? Like summer blockbuster. That's what I.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
April actually came out in April.
Okay.
April 11th.
All right. Hey, we're coming up on the anniversary.
Mm.
We will do a 30th anniversary of Anaconda in 2027. We will do a big event. We'll invite Jon Voight and J Lo
In
and
ice,
Ice
ice
Cool.
cool. And Owen Wilson. Don't forget, Owen Wilson's here.
Oh yes,